What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to bring you a quick 6-month review update on my 2020 Subaru STI. So I've had this about a month now. I've done 4, 5, 6 videos on this when it comes to the buying process and just my overall thoughts of it with 100,000 miles on it, 4,000 miles, but I've actually reached the 6-month mark. I bought it in October of last year and it is April right now, so I've had 6 months to play around with it and get an idea of who this may be for, who it may not be for. This review may be a little longer than some of my other ones, and I'm currently shooting on a different camera than before, so bear with me on that. I'm still learning the process here. But we'll go around and do the review the same way that I always do this. This is my daily driver, so we'll kind of go around the exterior, interior, go through the motor, miles per gallon, what it's like to drive on a daily basis. With a 1-year-old, we recently had a baby a year ago, so I have a 1-year-old, how it does with the car seat and just driving back and forth to work and to the babysitters, and just a little bit of weekend driving since it is a little bit nicer out. So let's jump in, get you to the exterior of the car, kind of go over that, and then we'll go to the interior and the whole drivetrain and kind of what I like and don't like about it. So going around looking at the exterior of the car, I do like the styling of this. This is about a week out from being washed, so this is what your car is going to look like after driving it. Roughly about 150 miles is what I probably drive a week, but I do still really love the look of this car. It looks aggressive with not being too over the top. Like the Honda Civic Type R I really like, but I just feel like it's a little bit too aggressive. So the front here, I've mentioned this before, I love the LED steering responsive headlights, which Subaru is putting on all their cars, so that's a really nice feature, nice touch. And then you have an actual functional vents here. There's no fog light option anymore, so you actually have vents that kind of cool the brakes, put a little bit there. And you have this massive front lip here, which is standard on most all Subarus. If you look at the newer Outbacks and Foresters, they'll have not as aggressive as this, but they do have that look here. You got your STI logo there. The front does have a decent amount of just junk on it from your general driving. It's springtime around here, so it's a little bit, a lot of bugs out, but the headlights are really the highlight here. You have a functional hood. I don't know if you can actually see in there, but there's actually functional vents in there. And then coming to the side, the only negative I can find about the side of this thing is that I have this, it's pretty dirty right now, but this is all kinds of scuffed up. You hit this almost all the time with your feet when you get in and out of the car. It's just like a spot where you just tend to actually hit a decent amount. And I got my stock rims back on. I had ran winter tired rims previously, and these do get pretty dirty. I think that's just because the brakes are so big. You have 6-piston Brembos on the front, 4-piston in the rear, but they're just so big. They're such overkill for the car, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but they do have a decent amount of brake dust after a week. And the rims are really hard to clean, but besides that, I really like them. Has Yokohama Advanced Sport tires on there, which are probably not as nice as or as sticky as, say, the Michelin, was it Sport S4 Pilot something, but they work. They're pretty good. You really have to do something stupid in this car to get it to lose grip, so I don't do stuff like that because I have a 1-year-old, so I try to be more responsible. And you got your mirrors there that fold in. I think all Subarus do that now, all the newer ones. Then you've got your little turn signal here, which is a good feature. Not anything that's necessary, but it's a nice touch as you start getting that stuff added on. And I like the two-tone, so I do like that. I do like the two-tone there. This is not functional. I do not believe there's any vents or anything in there, but you saw those vents in the front. The air actually comes through here and kind of helps cool the brakes down a little bit. And I did get the back windows tinted. There's no tint option from the factory on these, so there's a little bit of tinting, mainly because this was almost undrivable when I had my 1-year-old in the back, just because of how actually sunny it gets in this part, especially this time of year. And 4 pistons in the rear. These are excellent brakes all around. This is the best stopping car I've ever had. It's probably the only car I've had that's had Brembos on it before, but it is one huge thing I love about this car is that it has a lot of safety features that, while it may be a track-oriented, more focused car, big brakes are never a bad thing, besides the brake dust, which you can clean that off fairly easily. Besides, the rims are difficult to clean, but you can get stuff to do that. No sunroof. I would have liked to seen a sunroof option. This base, I think it was MSRP at like 38,000. I think you should be able to get a sunroof in there for that price point. Sorry if it's a little windy out here, guys, but just doing what I can. In the back, I have a few things I like and dislike. I do like the spoiler. Yes, it may be a little childish, but it is functional. You can tell when you're driving a lot, especially on the interstate, because you'll see when it gets dirty through here where all the air is kind of flowing and pushing the car down. So it is functional. You can get that deleted, but I wouldn't. And then the next thing is that I wish these were more of the black, like you can get on the Outback XT versions. I just think it would give it a better look. They'll probably do that on the future models. And then you have your dual exhaust here. I do not plan on modding this. I thought about doing like a muffler delete or something down the line, but I'll probably keep it stock and keep those actual muffler on there. And you have your little spoiler here, or your little diffuser, whatever you call it, down here at the bottom. Nothing too special here. This is come factory standard with like a 3M film here on the back. And one of the other pluses, tons and tons and tons of actual cargo area. So it's actually a fairly big, deep trunk. If you look at it here, there's all kinds of room. These are just sunshades that I used previously before I got the windows tinted, but we have no problem fitting our stroller or anything like that in there. So it's a much bigger car than you actually would think when getting into it. Nothing is different here on the side. Does get pretty dirty, as you can see. I think that's just because the tires got all-wheel drive. The tires are pretty sticky, so it does get pretty dirty. And I honestly just had not had much time to clean it. It is garaged, so take that for what it's worth. If you don't garage it, it'll probably be a little bit dirtier. But the exterior of the car, I really like. I don't think that will change much for it in the future, but we'll just have to see and kind of see how things go and see what they do with that. I still like that they do the functional skid hoop. That's it for the exterior. This is 5,000 miles in. I do have one door ding, which was my fault. In our garage, getting the little one in and out. See if I can find it. It is right there. It's teeny tiny. Nope, it's right there. It's teeny tiny. You can barely see it, but once you wash the car up pretty well, you can see it there. This stuff happens. All right, let's check the interior out. This is where things are a little hit or miss for me. I do like, you can put an actual roof rack on here, so you can put, there's spots on here to mount that. So if you need to put something on the roof, you do have that option. I think it's like $350 for the Thule, I think is who makes it. But jumping into the interior, I'm not going to go over the whole thing like I've done in the past, but a few things that I like and dislike. The seats are pretty comfortable for 1 hour or 2 hours. I would not want to take this car on a long trip. That's why we have our STI, or not STI, or Ascent. We use that for that, but they've held up pretty well. I mean, there's some marks here, just some wrinkle marks from where it's getting in and out of it, but overall, pretty nice. These are the standard floor mats that come with it, which are a nice feature. I do not know how much extra they were. And then you have your aluminum brake and clutch and gas pedal there. It is a pretty heavy clutch, and the brake, when you go to brake and you're actually just starting out, it takes a little bit before they grab. I just think they need to get a little hotter. Clutch is a little heavy and the grab point is pretty high, so before it actually grabs it all, it's a little bit higher than what I'm used to. The last manual I drove was a Jeep Wrangler, which is a different beast altogether. And then your side here, this is not the soft touch plastic that they have on their newer vehicles, which kind of stinks. It's not the best feeling material. There is some rattles on certain music. The speakers they're okay. For most music, they actually do fairly well, but if you get bass heavy stuff, all the stuff in here will rattle, but you do have tons of storage area, which is good for a small four-door car. There is a little bit of wear here on the armrest, and this gloss black does get pretty dirty. Most cars these days are doing the gloss black just because it looks nice when it's clean, but when it's not clean, boy, will it definitely show you that it's not. And looking at the rest of it, I love the steering wheel. I love the flat bottom steering wheel. Probably be pretty hard to to see, but I love the flat bottom steering wheel. It's a nice leather, thick steering wheel. You got all your controls, which are pretty standard to Subaru, easy laid out, pretty easy to navigate, especially if you're familiar with the Subaru cars. And let's jump in and see what else we got. The shifter's nice. It's very short, so first to second gear, you really are not doing a whole lot of in between there. Sometimes you can start in second gear if you're at a roll, so that's maybe the only thing that I would look into when test driving, is to make sure you're okay with the short throw gears, because it is pretty short, but it feels good. The shifter's much nicer. It's a much nicer shifting experience than the regular WRX. It just feels like a more solid transmission. Center differential here, I've not used this, so I'm not going to review it, but there's all kinds of stuff you can do there. I just leave it on sport. You have 3 different drive modes. You have intelligent, sport, sport sharp. Sport sharp was a little too aggressive for me. Intelligent was a little too difficult to get your shifts right. Sport seems to be the best overall for me. So that's something that I usually keep it in. Cup holder, you have this supposedly that's supposed to be an upgrade, but it feels pretty cheap, but you can store some stuff in here pretty easily. Holds phones. It's an iPhone 12. You can put that in there pretty easily, or you can just shove it up there, and it goes in there without much effort or anything. Armrest is not very plush. It's kind of hard. It works. You don't really have a whole lot of problems with it, but it's not the best option there. Little storage area, not much. There's not a whole lot of storage in this car. It is a smaller car, so if you're looking for a ton of front storage, look at some other things. The Honda CR-V, or not the same vehicle as this, but that's what my wife had previously, had a ton of storage area. Heated seats are really nice. I do like those. The hot, kind of wish it had 3 different steps, like a high, medium, and low. High seems too hot, low seems not quite hot enough. So maybe they'll add that on the newer one coming out soon. And then you have physical knobs. I love physical knobs. Hate how everything's going to touchscreen. The screen's pretty bright, pretty vivid. It's a little small compared, for 2021. I'm sure they'll upgrade it to the 8-inch. It's a little bit nicer, but it works. It's functional, which is what the purpose of this is. Dual climate controls. Never use that. Car's too small for anything like that, but it is an option. Then you have your stuff there. Let's start it up and see what kind of. All right, so center gauge is nice. You have your standard, very old school tachometer, and then you have a center gauge here. There's not a whole lot of information there. That's usually what I leave it on, but you can adjust it to different things after you shut the door. But usually I just leave it on the trip, so I know what my distance, how far it is taking me, how long it's taking me to get to a certain spot. Here's your radio or your display here. Nothing too fancy or too important, but it is nice. I like it. Then you got your gauge cluster up here. This is generally what I leave it on, but for as far as miles per gallon, you can only get probably about 300 miles out of a tank in this. I have never pushed it to the E point, but currently I'm getting 19.7 miles per gallon through the odometer, and I have a little over 5,000 miles on it. I would not expect to get much more than that if you don't drive on the interstate. I never drive on the interstate, so I don't get a whole lot of better gas mileage than that. It's sufficient. It works. That may be one of my negatives, is that the fuel mileage, and you have to pay premium fuel, but I'll get into that. Oh, it's hard to get in and out of when you're holding this. I'll get in that when I talk about that. Passenger seat's nice, tons of room, plenty of leg room, which we'll get to on the other side. Coming to the back. So same door as the other side. And then you have your other stuff here. Just got this camera and lens, so I'm still playing with it. I do not know if I like this over the Nikon one, but we'll give it a shot and see how it goes. Nikon one just didn't focus as well as this one, but back seats very rarely get used. Nobody's ever sat in them. They're really just my storage area, but you have tons of room. You do have a cup holder here if you want to do that. And that's our 1-month-old car seat. That is the Nuno Rava, which is a fairly larger car seat. So that's how it fits in there pretty well. No back vents, but I find you don't really need back vents on a vehicle this small. I don't really see a necessary in that. Plenty of storage area down here. plenty of seat room. Windows are tinted, so it's a little bit darker from the front. You can see there. I think I got standard 20% tint, whatever the standard is for factory vehicles. But no one's sat in the back seat, so it still looks pretty new. So let's go over and kind of give you an idea of car seat here and how it fits. So new Narava. This is one of the safer car seats, at least per the American the highway safety traffic people that do the car crash testings. It was on one of the top lists. And it fits plenty of room, so there's a little bit of room back here because it's not supposed to be actually touching the seat. So you do get some room in there. The only negative that I have found with this, and it may actually become a problem where this vehicle may have to consider looking at being retired, is it is hard to get our 1-year-old in and out. So when you're trying to maneuver him in here, it is a little bit harder to get it in and out. But besides that, that's really it. Is just be aware how much room's back here. It's a smaller 4-door car. And this is how much room you have if you have a decent car seat in the back. Plenty of room. My wife's 5'10". She fits in here pretty easily. In the storage area, if it's just you can throw your stuff down there and it stays pretty good. The seats do attract a little bit. No one ever usually sits in this, but they do attract a little bit of just general dust and debris. But besides that, everything's held up pretty well. Not a fan of the black glossiness, but it wipes off pretty easily. I'm not gonna nitpick on that. So let's get on the drivetrain. So driving this car on a daily basis is an absolute blast. This car's not fast. If you're looking for something that's gonna go off the line and really throw you back in your seat, it does have a little bit of kick in it, but it is not a fast car in a straight line. This is made for back roads, loose surfaces. It did great in the winter, mainly because of the all-wheel drive, 3 differentials, and electronic ones there in the rear. But in the winter, this thing actually handled. It was probably the best handling car I've ever had. Granted, I had winter tires and rims on it, so that's something to kind of take into account. Any car with winter tires and rim are going to do better on it. Give you an idea of what the engine looks like. It has not changed in some time. I'm sure they've perfected what they could with it, but it's your same 2.5 liter turbocharged boxer 4-cylinder, 310 horsepower, I think, around the same torque, 305 I think for the torque. I've had the oil changed twice on it, so I had it changed at 1,000 miles and then at 3,000. It's about due for an oil change. I don't notice it burns any oil. It seems to be at the same normal level. I do not beat on this car, do not plan on it, so this is probably how it will remain. Only negative is that change the oil in this thing is a pain because the oil filter is buried on the bottom there, and there's actually, I don't think you'll be able to see it. Let's see if I can get it down there. See this little plate here on the bottom that you actually have to take off, which is a little annoying to do because I think there's like 19 either clips or screws to actually get that off. So it's a little bit of a difficult thing to do. This car on a daily basis is an absolute blast. I'm really enjoying it. It's fun to drive, 4 doors, all-wheel drive. It gets okay gas mileage. 20 miles per gallon for a sports car, I do not think is that bad. The only negative, takes premium fuel, but there's all kinds of room. The doors open really wide. They're not as tall as I would like. So if you look here at the actual length of it, compare it to our Ascent, where it's easy to get our 1-year-old in and out, this is a little bit more challenging. But you have that, massive brakes, so this thing will stop. Once you get the brakes warmed up a little bit, this thing will stop. These brakes are way overkill for just daily driving, so it is nice. It could be a safety feature, especially if a deer pulls out in front of you or another car. You'll be able to stop easily and have that confidence. Big wing, we love the big wing, and tons of storage area. We have a pretty big Bob, I think it's a Revolution 3 stroller, fits in there easily. Car sounds nice, another positive. Sounds really nice. These cars are fairly limited produce, so they should hold their value. I assume that it'll probably, even if I trade it in, it will probably have a pretty decent value on it. A few negatives. Well, for one, the car's white and looks disgusting right now after a week, so it does get dirty. The front rims I'm not the biggest fan of. They look nice in certain angles, but I prefer I think the 2018, the all black ones, and they're kind of hard to clean. But besides that, that's a personal preference, a little nitpick thing. Premium fuel. So fuel has went up. It's summertime, so premium fuel sucks right now because it is. I think I had 20 cents off at Kroger's because you do get fuel points to them. I think I paid $3.19 was the last, which you wouldn't think is a lot until I went to fill my wife's Ascent up, and it was like $2.43. So it does make a difference, which if you're in a bind, if you're trying to, watch your finances or try to spend the least amount as possible, this isn't the car for you. If you drive long distances to work and you're daily driving this is not what I would recommend. I would get the regular WRX for that just because the gas mileage is so much better, or get something else. There's all kinds of fun cars. Honda Civic SI, which is not as powerful as this and not the same type of car, but it would get you by if you needed to. What else? Car's expensive. I think I paid like $35,000 for it, around there. So that's pretty expensive for a daily driver for a small four-door car. You need winter tires and rims because these are summer tires. You cannot drive them if you live in in Ohio, where we have pretty cold winters, and we had a decent amount of snow this year. So this car would not have moved for most of the time. But those are really the only small negatives. Everything is nitpicky, so it's up to you if this car is for you or not. And that's it. Really like it. I may look into getting rid of it in the fall just because of a 1-year-old. And we've been trying to cut our finances because we'd like to upgrade to a bigger house. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see. It's just now spring, so we haven't got to summer yet, so we'll see what happens. But that's it. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave them below. I will probably not do another review of this car until I may do a driving experience of it. But besides that, probably won't do any other type of videos on this car for a while. So if you have any comments, questions, leave them below, or any type of other videos you'd like to see about this car, or just the Subaru STI altogether, put them below. Hope everyone has a good rest of the week, good weekend. It's supposed to be cold here. It's going to snow tomorrow, so we will see how that goes because it's about 65 right now. Thanks again, everyone, for watching, and I will see you guys next time.